Hello everyone, welcome to another day of the daily challenges, the September daily challenges. And as you all know, the theme this time is FANG. Today's question asked on 25th of September is day 2, and the question is based on the pattern that Google generally asks. So Google loves to ask these intervals plus something. I'll just reveal what that something is, but Google loves to ask these kind of questions. So we have mixed these kind of mixed a couple of questions from Google and created this question for you. The question's name is Connect Woods. And before I begin, just want to repeat the rules of the daily challenges for those of you who are joining us the first time. So you can sign up on the link given above, and every day starting from 24th September, which was yesterday, we will start releasing one challenge every day at 6 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time, and the solution will be released the same evening at 9 p.m. itself. So that's what you're seeing. This video is the solution. The first to crack it is at the top of the leaderboard, and today I already saw some people at the top. Yesterday there were some people at the top. So it's a great way of competing, of knowing your level. We've designed this especially in mind, keeping in mind students who are in the pre-final year, who are preparing for product level companies. This is for you to mainly know what your level is, and especially compared with others around you, what's your like sort of national level. You can come to understand that. So that's what the main purpose behind this is, and it's completely free. You can sign up and you can start taking the daily challenges. And yeah, if you have not liked this video yet, please like it. Please subscribe to this channel, because we keep doing many such fun things on the Edist platform, and you will be the first to know if you subscribe to this channel. So please subscribe to this channel, like it, and let us know how your thoughts on the entire daily challenge process in the comments below. We love hearing your comments. Many times we've included your comments as feedback and have improved the platform accordingly. So yeah, let's open up the question. And to open up the question, I'll click this link above. Once you click this link here, you'll actually open up the Edist platform, which looks like this. I've zoomed in, but yeah, this is the introduction. This is the challenge 1, which was completed yesterday, and you can see the challenge 2 here. So I'm just opening up the challenge 2. Let's read the question and try to finish the question ourselves. Okay, right. So we are given n pieces of wood A and m pieces of wood B. And what we are also given is that wood A is not really like given length of the wood, but rather what we are told is that each piece of A has two parameters, Li and Ri. So these are like the lower and upper bounds, or the left and right basically, which indicates that can it combine with any specific wood B or not, right? And that B has to lie between Li and Ri, both inclusive. Okay. So let's actually look at an example. So the example is given to us as this: 3 4 3 7 1 3 2 5 4 8 5 3. Let's debug or decipher what this actually means. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'll just open up this slides. Yeah, so this is the type of wood A that's given to us. This is the type of wood B that's given to us, and we'll just start doing the allotments, right? So how does one even allot things? In fact, what's even given to us? Well, the first line of input that was given to us was we were told how many wood A we have and how many wood B we have. That's why it was 3 4. That is wood A, there are 3 woods, and wood B, there are 4 woods given to us. The speciality about wood A is that A is given a range, and if any B is in that particular range, then B can be associated to A, and it's inclusive. So for example, this 3 can actually be inside 3 7 because it's an inclusive range. We count both the boundaries, right? Whereas 8 cannot be associated with any of these woods, and therefore will not ever use 8, because 8 it cannot be found in 3 7, cannot be found in 1 3, cannot be found in 2 5. Okay. Now the goal is not to associate this with every interval over here. Rather, it is to fulfill every interval. So we have 3 intervals, we have 4 woods. Obviously not all woods are going to be used. The idea is, how do we include all of the intervals, or how do we fulfill each of these intervals, right? So there are possibly many allotments, right? For example, in 3 7 I can include the woods. I can include the wood 4, I can include 5, and also I can include 3 as well, right? What about for 1 3? Well, for 1 3 I can include I can't include 4, I can't even include 5, I can't include 8, I can only include 3. And for 2 5, I can only include 4, right? I can actually include 5 also, right? I can include 5 also. So one possible allotment, okay, so one possibility possibility would be that we get, 1 second. So one of these possibilities is we take this entire thing, right, as it is. Hold on. Yeah, take this. So we make this sort of an allotment, right? So this is one possibility for this entire thing. So we can do this kind of an allotment where we take, we assign 3, 7 as 4, 1, 3 as 3, and 2, 5 as 5, right? We can't use the same wood again and again. That's why we are doing this. So 3, 7 we allot as 4, and because we allotted as 4, we can't reuse that for 2, 5, right? So this is one possibility that you have over here, right? Okay. What is another possibility that you have? Let's just look into the other possibility as well. 1 second. Yeah, so the other possibility, hold on a second, just increasing the font size for all. So another possibility that we can get is, instead of assigning 4 over here, I could have assigned 5 here, and I could assign 4 here also. So there are more than one options, right? So what does the question say? What does the question say, that we have to give any possibility? No, the question says you have to output either yes or no. Yes if it is possible to assign, and no if it is not possible to assign. Okay. Now the first thing that you realize in this question is that you don't really need to find you do need to find the allotment, but it's more about telling whether it's possible or not. In the case of possible, as long as we allot in any way, if we are able to allot in any way, then we are good, right? Now, one suggestion generally in these kind of scenarios is, if it's said that is it possible or not, generally speaking, you should try to find the optimal way, right, or the optimal allotment, because there will be some science behind it, or there will be some logic behind it. You could obviously have no logic behind it and randomly keep assigning and keep trying to assign and see if it's possible. That would be a brute force, but that sometimes will work, sometimes will not work. In terms of time complexity, that goes up a lot. But in terms of, if you try to find the optimal way of assigning each interval something, then you will definitely have a concrete solution, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's look at some more examples, then we'll figure out, right? First things first is, this is an observation that you need to make, that is, not all type B need to be allotted. Like 8 was not allotted, still it's fine. But type A must be allotted, that is, all type A must be satisfied. Not all type B must be used, but the type B can be used only one at a time. We can't use multiple or rather we can't use one in multiple places, right? So that's one thing. Okay, so let's look at some example, right? So let's look at this example over here, right? And here is where we'll start building the logic from. So you have these intervals or these woods, right, A, and if I were to try to allot 1, 9, 13 and 90, again we get this issue that, like, for example, 1 can only be over here, 9 could be in both 2, 10 and it could be in both 2, 12, right? 13 cannot be in any one of them, and 90 cannot be in, 90 can only be here, 300, right? That's where 90 can be. So 90 I can use, and 300, I can be sure that. So if I take this, from this, what I can know is that 300 I can, pair with 90, and this should be done, right? So this I'm sure will get done, right? So this will get done here. What about 212? Well, to 212 I have multiple options, but I could choose either 9 or I could choose 13. Let's say I choose 9, right? So if I choose 9 over here, right, for 212, let's say I choose 9, and then I choose, in fact, let me not remove that. Okay. So yeah, so let's say I choose 9 and I choose 90, right? What I'm left with is 113, and 113 have to somehow satisfy 1, 2, 5, 2, 10. One observation we can obviously make is that we have only 4 here, we have 5 over here, it will never be able to satisfy. Let's just add one more over here, okay? So now again, I could add 90 here, right? And I'm left with 100 here. So I could add 90 here, I will add 13 here, right? Not 13, 9 over here, right? I'll add 9 over here, but then I cannot satisfy 210, nor can I satisfy 25, nor can I satisfy 1, I can satisfy by removing 1 over here, right? And doing this, right? So this is one way I could do it, right? Now, what do I get from here? I don't really understand much. One thing I can definitely understand is 210 is more tolerant than 25, right? Like in 210, I have the capacity to put in even more numbers than I have in 25. So for example, if I have the number, let's say like 9, right? Or let's say I have the number 8, right? If I had to choose to put 8 somewhere, right? I would be better off putting 8 in, let's say, okay, let's look at another example to just give you. So for example, let's again take this only, and I'll just make the point that I was trying to make again. So I have 1, 1, 2, 5, 2, 10, 2, 12 and 300, and now let's say this time I have something like 5, 10 and 12, right? And 1 and 100 also. I think you know where I'm going with this. But 1, pretty sure that it can only go here. 100, pretty sure it can go only here. Let's look at 5, 10 and 12, right? 5 can go in 2, 5, it can go in 2, 10, and it can also go in 2, 12, right? Where am I best placed 5? If I consume 5 at 2, 12, I have a problem, because I have consumed 5 over here, which could have also consumed 10 and 12, right? But because I consumed 5 for 2, 12, I can no longer consume 5 for 2, 5 or 2, 10, and they can't really, like 2, 5 cannot do with anything apart from 5, right? For 2, 5 needs a 5 over here. So that's an important observation. What is the observation over here? That if I have a bigger interval, that interval can definitely have more tolerance, right? In fact, that interval is better off taking the maximum value possible, because we don't know if any smaller interval will take it or not, right? And it's better to keep the smaller numbers for the smaller intervals, right? So in case I have like 3 different, so I have the same starting point in 3 intervals, and in those the ending points are different, it's better to keep assigning the maximum values to all of these as much as possible, right? So that's one observation, and that's sort of the main observation that we can make over here. Now, to us that's given, there's no particular order in wood A. So for this example, we have taken it as sorted, but it's not actually a sorted thing. It's given randomly, and neither is this sorted. As you can see over here, it's not really sorted. So before we go into the the solution and the constraints, I'll just iterate again. Let's say you have just for the sake of understanding, let's say we have one more one more interval over here, right? So let's say we have one more interval over here, which is nothing but let's take it as 11, 20, right? Let's take this as the interval. Now I need, obviously, let's put 16 also here, and let's put 3 also over here, right? Now when it comes to 16, I know 16 can go in 300 also, right? I know 16 can go in 1120 also, right? Where am I better off putting 16? If I put 16 in 300, right, does that help me out? Because okay, let's try to assign it. So if I put 16 in 300, so 16, so 300 will get 16. That's what we got here. 300 gets 16. Okay. What about 3 itself? 3, can I put it anywhere? I can put it in 2, 5. Okay, we'll come to 60 after that. Let's go in descending order. So let's take 12. 12 I can put in 1120, and I can put in 212 as well. Where should I put it? Let's say I put it in 212, right? In that case, will I have anything left for 1120? I don't really have anything left for 1120. 300, 1, 10, 5, none of them are left for 1120. So what I'll have to do is 12, I have to put it over here. I have to put it in 1120. That's one thing I did. Now for 212, do I have anything? Well, I could use 3 for 212, right? So I could use the 3 for 212 over here. I could use the 5 for 25, 10 for 210, and 1 for 11, right? But I've not done it optimally, in the sense I've randomly started assigning, right? What is there a foolproof way in which I can assign the values and know that it's the, like, I've tried my best, like what's the best level effort to assign everything, right? And that would be, if I take, like, if I start taking, let's say if I take 300, right, I should try to assign 100 to it as much as possible, right? Or the value closest to 100 as much as possible. Why? Because any other value, right, if let's say you have 2 values of 3, right, if you have 2 values of 3, it would be better if I assign 100 closer to it, because the other value could have been something like 350, right? So let's say it's 350. It's better for me to assign 100 here, because this 100 may not fit in that 350. So generally what I'm getting at over here is the end range dictates a lot. Obviously it has to lie in the range, but the end range dictates a lot, especially if you sort this entire range, right? So this range is not sorted right now. No, actually it is sorted. Now if this range is sorted, what the method we can follow is take the highest one, right? So let's take, for example, 1120, and 1120, try to put the maximum number that's possible out of all of these. The maximum number that's possible is 16. So let me try to put 1120, and the maximum I'll try to put is 16. Okay, great. Now 300, what's the maximum I can put? Well, I can put 100 itself. So let me put 100 over here. Okay. 212, what's the maximum I can put? I can put 12, right? So I'll put 12 over here. 210, what's the maximum I can put? 210, I can put 10 over here, right? That's the maximum value. 25, what's the maximum value I can put? Let me put 5 because 5 is available, right? And 1, the maximum value I can put is 1 itself, right? So this way I'm always ensuring that, you know, because I chose the maximum possible value for my range, any value that was in the middle, I'm conserving it for something else which will have a lesser maximum value, because we are doing it in ascending order, right? We sort it in ascending and then we start at the end and we keep going back, right? So this is the approach basically. Sort the intervals of type A by their start time and then the end time. So if two of them have the same start time, then you would try to sort them by their end time. Try to get the maximum possible wood for each interval. So for each interval, I'm trying to get the maximum possible wood, right? Now this is the important part. I'm trying to get the maximum possible wood. What is the order or time complexity of this one, right? So because we know this works, how do we know what's the maximum time complexity for this one? Let's go back to our constraints and try to understand what we can do. So the constraints given to us is M is 50,000, N is 50,000, right? Which means that if for each piece of A, if I try to go into each piece of B and find the maximum value, the maximum time amount it might take is 50,000 every time, right? And which means that if for each A, that's 50,000 itself, it takes about another 50,000, that's 5 into 10 raised to 4 into 5 into 10 raised to 4, it's automatically going to 10 raised to 8. As I told you in the last video itself, the ideal for us is anything less than equal to 10 raised to 6. So 10 raised to 8 is already too high for us, and we'll actually see that if you try to do a brute force approach over here, which is what I just described, you'll have a problem with it. Obviously, we will count the sorting issue here. So because type A and type E both will have to be sorted, I'll just come to that. But even with that, if you do an n square approach, it comes to 10 raised to 8, which is too much. What you should instead try to do is try to get into a 10 raised to 6 place, right? So that's the magical number, and let's try to figure out how we can do that part, right? So just coming back to the slides, right? This might get too difficult. One second, sorry. Yeah, so this might get too difficult. What if we do it this way? We'll have problems. So if we want to try to get the maximum possible wood for each interval, what are some ways we can do, right? So one such way you could do is linear search for max possible wood, and what you'll end up doing there is you'll start from end of B and keep going back, right? And in the worst case scenario, you might just end up coming back all the way till the start every time. So that's the linear search, which will cost us too much. And if you know anything, if you've been following us for some time, you know that if there's a linear search option, there will obviously always be a binary search option. So we can also do a binary search for the max possible wood, right? This is not the only option. There are other options as well, and I'll just give you a little bit hints on what are the other options. But you could do a binary search for the maximum possible wood. And what do I mean by binary search for the max possible wood? Well, you're actually binary searching for the R of A, right? So each A has an R, right? I'm trying to binary search for that particular R, right? And if I find that, great, that means I know that, for example, when I found 100, great, I found 100, I just put 100 over here. If I don't find 100, what I should do is try to find the closest value to it, right? Closest value less than it, obviously, and check if that is possible to assign in my current interval. So for example, let's just take another example and understand. For binary search, you will obviously need to sort the entire array. So this entire array sorted looks like this. 1, 3, 5, it's like, sorry, 1, 3, 5, 10, 12, 16, 100, right? So that's this entire array sorted, right? And if I binary search for it, what will I get? If starting at the end, if I binary search for 20, I will not get 20 over here, right? But I will know that if you have to write your binary search in such a way that I will find out where 20 would have existed, and 20 would have existed in this spot, right? So this is the X spot where 20 would have ideally existed. And if 20 would have existed here, that means that the closest number I can probably take here is 16, right? So provided that 16 actually fits into 11, 20, I'll take it. Had this been, let's say, 17, 20, then I would have a problem, right? Because then there is no value here, although 20 is supposed to come here. If I go back, I get 16. 16 can't fit in 17, 20, and in fact there is no number here that can fit in 17, 20, right? So that's the major problem that we'll have. So but as we know, this is 11, 20. It comes here, so we'll take 16 and we'll assign 16 to 11, 20. That's what we are going to end up doing. So we assign 16 there, right? Then we binary search for 100 and we actually find 100. We binary search for 12, we'll find it. 10, we'll find it. 5, we'll find it. 1, we'll find it, right? And so 3, we are not really using anywhere. But now, why did we do binary search? Well, because 1, we are sorting the array anyway, so you know that is there, so we can sort the array. 2, each binary search will cost us log n time only. It will not cost us more. Over there, we are getting n time, and log n is really great, right? You know, because if you think about like 10 raised to 8, imagine how much 10 raised to 8 is, and you know, log of 10 raised to, we're going to do it over the type B array, right? And type B array is like 50,000. So 50,000, imagine that linear search would every time take 50,000, but if you do binary search, it's a log of 50,000 to the base 2, which comes up to roughly about like log of 1000 is about 10. So yeah, 50 log 10, it's roughly like what, 5? It's about 50. So where is 50,000 and where is 50 over here, right? It's not exactly this, I'm just estimating, right? So your time reduces a lot, right? It just shoots down completely. And that's the best part about binary search. So that's the second part that you had to find out. Like many of you tried the linear search approach, you would have got time limit exceeded. That's because the constraints are really high. If you do the binary search approach, then you will get it. So if I do binary searching for R of A, so if found, great, right? If not found, take previous value and associate and assign to A, okay? If previous value not possible, then overall not possible. That is, just like in the case that we saw, we binary search for A, and if it was not at all possible to find, so binary search for the right of A, and since it was not, if it's not at all able to find it, we go to the previous value and try to assign to A. If it's still not possible, if the previous value does not fall under the interval, then what we do, we say if the previous value doesn't fall, then nothing will fall, right? Because on the right of this is elements greater than what we wanted, in the left is elements lesser, but they are so less that they are lesser even than the left boundary that we are allowed, right? Again, just to show you all, just at the cost of reiterating it, if you binary search, if this was 17, 20, you binary search for 20, the closest you find is 16, closest element just lesser than 20 is 16, but the problem is 16 is so less that it can't even fit in 17, and so anything below 16 will definitely not fit. Everything above 60 also will not fit, because we found 16 because it was the first element less than 20. Anything greater than 20 will be on the right of 16, and if 20 had actually existed, we would have found 20, right? So that's where the binary search comes in, and this is where binary search can be really helpful for us, right? So that's what we're going to do now. So this is the approach that we are going to follow, that is sort the intervals of type A and type B, right? And so for this one, we'll also have to sort intervals type B, sort type B, try to get the maximum possible value for each interval. How? We'll do it by binary search for the maximum possible word, right? So let's apply this to our question itself. So let's just try to apply this for our question. I'll do it in Python, and I'll use something, a built-in library of Python, which is also available in C++, and a similar thing is available in Java as well. So I'll just share what that is, while I'm doing the question. But let's just first start. So the question is basically, first we'll be given n and m. So let's just take that as input, list map int input dot split. Right, so this is just taking it as input. So we took it as input. After that, what we're going to do for I in so one second, type A is equal to an empty list, and initially type B. Okay, let's leave type B on the side for now. And what we're going to get in type A is for I in range n, that is there are n type A words. What we have is left comma right is equal to or rather the better way to do it is there's a span which is equal to list map int input dot split, right? So this is the array, and we'll assign it to, we'll add it to type a dot append span. So this is the span that we're assigning. This is the word that we've assigned. Okay, and what we're going to do is, again, type B is nothing but a simple array. So this is how we'll take it as input: list map int input dot split. So that's type B for us, right? So we got these two as input, and yeah, we need to sort type A and we need to sort type B. So let's sort both of them. So type B sorting is pretty simple: type B dot sort, and this will happen in order n log n time. And again, you don't need to ever implement your own sort unless the question asks it. You should just use the in built-in sort for any product level companies. Type A has to be sorted in a particular way. So we'll sort it in this way: key is equal to lambda x. And for those of you who don't know, this is how you would generally do a custom sort in Python. So you would do it like this. Although if you would have taken this as an array of tuples, we would have automatically got to sort it, but I'm not taking an array of tuples. So is x of 0 and based and x of 1. So we're basically saying first try to solve on the first element, and if you're not able to solve on the first element, if they both are equal, then sort it on the second element. Your own language will have a particular way of sorting this as well. C++ has it, Java has it, so don't worry about too much about this. Just search for, like for in Java, it's custom sorting is through comparable and comparator. Search for that, you'll get that. Same thing in C++, you have a sort, and you can give the sorting condition as well. So that's nothing, that's the same thing I've done over here, right? So once we've sorted both of these, right, what we want to do is we want to start at the end in type A, right? So for I in range, we want to start at the end, so that is length of A, length of type A, type underscore A minus 1. So I want to start at this and to end at I have to go all the way to 0, so I have to do this and this. Why minus 1? Because it does greater than minus 1, so that's why I'm going to greater than minus 1, which is 0, right? And I go so far, right? And for each, so my current left is equal to type underscore A of I of 0, right? And current right is equal to type underscore A underscore I of 1, right? There's another way of writing this, but I'll just take this as it is. And in this particular span, I have to find out which is the maximum possible value that I can take of in type B, right? So one thing I could do is write a for loop and search for that maximum possible value, but that again is a linear search, which is harmful for us. We don't really want to get into the linear search way because it will be too much. We want the binary search way. And to really get binary search, what we will need to do is you could either write your own binary search, which you could, and I suggest that you take out the time and learn how to do that. That's great. But there's another thing we can do, and that's use, if you followed our webinars before, you'll know that there's a function called bisect in Python. In C++, you could just use the set actually, and in Java, I believe you can use tree set as well. All of these will help you out. They will tell you, they'll help you find out exactly, these tree sets will help you find out exactly how many numbers are before and how many numbers are after it, right? So that's what exactly we want to do right now, and I'll just tell you, or rather what position you're supposed to enter it in. So I'll explain what that means. The equivalent of this is available in your language too. Don't worry about that. I'll just import this first and then I'll show you. So from bisect, import bisect underscore right. So this is what I want to import, this bisect underscore right, and I'm going to use this function, and it's allowed in any of these are allowed in most programming competitions, so don't worry about that also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and I'm going to say if I had to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bisect this underscore right, and the syntax of this is, first I want to enter the name of the list, which is type B, because I want to choose from type B, and then I want to enter what is the key that I'm searching for. So the key I'm searching for is the current right value, because that's the higher end value. So I'm searching for the current right value, and where am I searching from? I'm starting from 0, and at the end it's all the way at type underscore B, right? So I'm searching from 0 and I'm going all the way to type B, right? And yeah, till the end. So this is the higher end, obviously less than this because there will be no index with this particular value. So 0 less than type B is what we have over here, right? So this is the position that if we were to insert this current right into this type B, it would be inserted at this particular position, and if there were equal values, then it would be inserted after all of those equal values. So therefore we know that the closest possible value for this is nothing but POS, right? It's stored in POS -1, right? So the current piece, the current wood of B that I can take is nothing but type underscore B of POS -1. This is the maximum value that I can take, right? Now, if this current piece, so if current underscore left less than equal to current underscore piece is right, and we already know that it's less than equal to current because of bisect right. But if this is the case, right? Sorry, if this is the case, then yes, we got our piece. We'll remove this piece completely. So we'll remove type underscore B of POS -1. So we'll remove this, right? Otherwise, we know that it's not found, right? For this particular interval, we have not found it, and so we'll say found is equal to false. So for which initially found has to be equal to true, right? So we'll keep a flag found is equal to true. So we'll need that flag, and so we'll say found is equal to false, and we'll keep doing this for each of them. If we didn't find it, then we should basically break at this point because we found one interval for which we have not found the correct answer, right? We have not been able to associate it. So that's what we'll do. And finally, if not found, one second, yeah, if not found, print no, else print yes, right? So I'll run this and just check if there are any. Yeah, I thought so. Key is equal to, yeah, spelling of lambda is wrong over here. Sorry for that one. So key is equal to lambda. Yep, now it makes sense. I'll just run it and see. Yeah, again, taking input is wrong here. Okay, my bad. So sorry for this one. A list map int input dot split list map int. Map is the function. Int is to be mapped to all of these ones. Cool. Yeah. Now let's try to see. Yeah, now it's passing the test cases, and we'll just submit, and then we'll just see if it works out for all. Yep, it does work out for all of them. Great. So let's just go back and just understand what this magic or this black magic of this bisect right was. Not much. Basically what it's doing is it's trying to insert this current right value into type B, and it's trying to find the rightmost value that it could insert it into type B without hurting the sorting order. So if again I come back to the slides, what it's basically doing is it's going to say that if I had to insert 20 into this, where would it insert? It would insert at this position, correct? Without disturbing anything. So it would insert here without disturbing the sorting, and therefore 16 is the position that we should be interested by, because 16 is the value that is just lesser than 20. When we try to say that okay, if I had to insert 100, where would 100 be inserted? 100 could be inserted here, or 100 could be inserted on the right side, right? But what we are saying is bisect right will always choose the rightmost position. So we'll take the rightmost position of 100, and that would be just after 100, and therefore to get 100 it will be the one before it, that would be 100 itself, and we'll assign it to 300 and we'll remove 100 also. If we are not able to find a particular value for any interval, then we know that that value does not exist, and therefore this is not possible, and hence we mark our flag as false, right? And then we break out. So that's what this question was about. Again, if you look at the code, what is the code entirely? Yesterday we had like a 20-line code. This is like roughly about a 30-35 line code. As it is, it's very simple. It's not too difficult, especially if you know about bisect or sets and all of that, right, in your own language. But you had to know this particular thing, and I hope you came to know about this. Not all daily challenges will have like you have to know this thing or something, but if you made this observation, then it becomes easier for you. So yeah, just again a reminder to all of you that tomorrow again at 6 p.m. we'll launch one, and today also at 9 p.m. you will receive a solution. Tomorrow 9 p.m. you'll receive. I think today's solution might be slightly delayed because We have shot this a little bit late, but yeah, I hope you received it on time and you're able to solve the question. Try to be on top of the leaderboard, and yes, keep your practice up. It is very important to keep your practice, as you can see that it's these are not too difficult questions, but they're tricky questions. So yeah, the last request is please like this video, subscribe to this channel so that more and more people can come to know about it, and you also come to know when we launch more of such challenges. So thanks everybody for joining us today for day 2, which was the Connect Woods by Google, and stay tuned for tomorrow for another challenge. Thanks everybody for joining, and I'll see you all next time. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.